Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ramani Subramanian, and it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you to the Avagmah GuruTalk session. We are particularly privileged to have as our Guru this morning Mr. Karthik Srinivasan. Karthik heads the social media practice at an internationally renowned advertising and marketing company called Ogilvy, India. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to our Guru, Karthik Srinivasan. Warm welcome to you, Karthik. I wish to share a little bit of information about our Guru, which will give you an idea of the vastness of his experience and how eminently suitable he is to be our Guru this morning. Karthik Srinivasan is a seasoned communication professional with over 15 years experience across client and agency environments. In the agency side, he has led PR, digital and social mandates for brands like Intel, Lenovo, Ford, ARM, IBM, Cisco, and so on. All global and very well known brands. Karthik is an avid blogger and has 2 music-related blogs that he has been managing for over a decade, both of which are very popular amongst Indian music lovers. Karthik's blog on social media and PR, http://www Beast of Trawl, is one of the leading blogs in India on the intersection of PR, marketing, and all things social and digital. He recently won the Best Blog Award from India Blogger under the marketing and advertising category. He is also an avid Twitter user. He is regularly sought after for digital and social media events and by mainstream media for thought leadership pieces on social media references in brand-led and topical events. Quite appropriately, the topic on which Guru Karthik is going to speak to us this morning is the new face of marketing. Let me not stand between you and the Guru. May I request you, Karthik, to take the floor. Warm welcome to you once again.
I'm probably on broadcast mode. So obviously, I don't think you can talk back to me saying that the voice is clear. Let me just assume that if you're able to laugh pretty loudly at the cartoon on screen, I would assume that the audio is clear enough. Which I can't hear again. I can't hear you laugh, but that's the cue for you to ensure that you can hear me clearly. If there is a problem, please let me know in the chat. I can come back to saying this. We can probably sort it out. So post that joke. I mean, incidentally, I use this joke. I use this joke very specifically for audio and projector-related problems because there is always at least about 5 minutes before I can connect to a projector decently within time. So there is always a joke that I carry so that people don't get bored while I try to connect to the wire. So before I go into what I need to speak about, I probably need to establish the credentials of why am I equipped to even talk about it besides what Professor Ramani introduced from a professional basis. Let me just explain the list. Let me just explain briefly what I'm doing. So besides what Professor Ramani said, which is in the line 4, I also happen to be blogging for more than a decade. I started blogging at around 1999, then it was in a very early tender kind of stage in India, and started blogging on things that are not part of what I do for a living right now, which is heading social media practice for Ogilvy India. I used to track the Indian music scene a lot. I used to review a lot of music. That's still something that I do. It's been more than a decade that I do. And I also have a reasonably modest following on Twitter where I indulge with a lot of people on things that happen in my life regularly, about my daughter, about my son, about how I face problems with various brands, and brands come back to me saying sorry, and then they solve problems for me in real time. These things happen. And then obviously the professional part of it, because I started with public relations first. I used to handle corporate communications for a few brands. Then I moved on to the agency side. Then finally I'm in Ogilvy now, heading the social media practice. So there is obviously a lot of things that I've seen from a PR marketing point of view that has considerably changed over a period of time. Let me just take you through those from a very broad basic sense. So the thing is that I won't be able to help you specifically saying how should I use LinkedIn better for brands, how should I use Twitter better for my better for my professional improvement, etc. Because that is something that we need to find out ourselves individually. But from a broader point of view, what has changed is something that I can explain to you in this session. I see a couple of comments with absolutely no sound, some problem with the mic, heavy echo. Can anybody help? Can't hear. Okay. Okay. So that is being sorted. Let me just go through the first ecosystem first. Now, in terms of reach, if I were to show you the top 3 newspapers in India right now, these are the top 3 newspapers. Obviously, and not surprisingly, it is not an English language publication that is on top 3. It is actually regional publications which are on top. These are the kind of numbers being bandied about. About 12 to 15 million is their individual readership. That's on the print side. Next, on the TV side, if you take the most watched TV channel in India, it is still Star Plus, though some claim that it's going to be Colors, Star Plus versus Colors, or it can be the new channel that Star Plus launches or Color launches, etc. But it is usually a GEC, General Entertainment Channel from Hindi. The last numbers being bandied about is about 125 million, at least according to March 2014. Then you look at the magical number that most ad agencies love to talk about, which is cable and satellite households, because that's the reach mechanism that they use basically to say that so many people can be reached possibly in those numbers. That's about 156 million in March 2014. Then obviously we have a showpiece called IPL. This is 173 million in season 7 2014 according to the last numbers in terms of overall viewership on television. In spite of Gurunath Mayappan's enthusiastic practices last year, it was still about 160 to 170 million, so it's a fairly healthy number that we are talking about. Now let me come to the kind of mode that we use in social media and digital media marketing. The total number of internet users in India, depending on who you trust or who you want to believe, like whether it's Google, whether it's IAMAI, whether it's the government numbers that you want to believe, anybody that you want to believe, the total number generally is about 200 to 243 million. That's the kind of numbers that we're talking about in terms of internet usage. In terms of mobile internet usage, we are about 180 to 185 million. It is bound to grow. I got some numbers this morning also that it is growing much faster than PT based internet usage. So that's the kind of reach that we are looking at. Now, if you see the kind of numbers that I put in the bottom for internet and mobile active users, it is still much higher than the 4 things that I put on the top. So even bigger than cable and satellite households, even bigger than IPL, even bigger than Star Plus, the most watched channel in India. It is still very large. But beyond these, the biggest difference between the top 4 and the last one is primarily that people volunteer to get into the last one and they can switch it off anytime they want. It is not a stream that is happening that they need to stick to those timings that is being imposed by either IPL or cable and satellite households or Star Plus and etc. Much like newspapers, you can actually shut them out anytime. You don't need to watch them. That's how internet is far more open than the other platforms that are. Now let me put this in context to a very basic fact. So if you actually notice what's on screen, the one on the left is something that we used to do as kids. We used to love doing this as kids. We used to take 2 cans, we used to put a thread in between, and we used to hide in slightly different places to extend the can and extend the thread and then talk to each other. This was classic one-to-one communication, which is what happens in mobile phones right now, every kind of telephones right now, and face-to-face discussion calls. That's one-to-one. Then you must have seen the one on the right in a lot of Hollywood movies where the cops who are actually standing outside to catch a culprit, they use a hand speaker kind of sound that is on the right. That is basically a broadcast mechanism. So you actually get your voice much louder and reach a lot of people. This is a classic ploy used by politicians in India, where they are on stage, they have a mic, they talk to a lot of people, and they probably may not make sense to a lot of people, but there is a TG that they have to address with specific promises and claims and etc. So they actually do a broadcast. Now, the question before you is that the one on the left is one-to-one, the one on the right is one-to-many. how would you describe many to many communication? Just imagine if there is a politician on stage, there are people in front of him, all of them can actually speak to the politician, and the politician can speak to all of them. That is quite a conundrum. I understand it's going to be very complex to even listen and understand who's talking, who's not talking, who's making sense, etc. But that's literally how internet actually works. I mean, everything on social media works precisely that way. It is many to many communication, and it's extremely noisy and confusing. That's usually how things happen. Before I show you how it actually works, let me just give you an example here. So let me just explain to you what the picture looks like. The absence of the picture is still not loading. So what basically is there in the picture is actually a busy classroom session where there are about 4 to 5 people sitting on a table in the front, and there are a lot of people who are actually talking at the same time. So some people are talking to the neighbors, some people are talking to the teachers in the front. The teachers are also talking to the crowd back. Obviously, the picture is not loading, so you're not able to visualize what I'm saying. But the point is everybody is talking to everybody else at the very same time. So the point is that everybody is talking to everybody at the very same time. That's literally what is happening. Now, if I were to parallel this with brands, to the next slide, let me just show you this way. So this is the classic brand broadcast that we see usually. This is actually a very busy street in the US. Obviously, some brands that you can identify immediately. There is McDonald's, there is Maxwell, there is Bank of America, there is even TDK for some reason. I have no idea who buys Capital anymore. There is Kodak. There is a lot basically. Now, if this is how brands talk to people who are standing down there, just talking of all these brands at a random time period. I'm not able to see the picture again, but this is how usually brands see themselves in the social media space. What happens is that there is a classroom, everybody is talking to each other. The brand is just one participant with everybody else. It is not the one talking, it is not the one being listened to. It is just part of the overall stream of what everybody is saying at the same time. The brand has equal rights as the person next to you talking to you something about yourself basically. For instance, the classic example is that you are listening to some of your friends on Facebook. There is a brand which pokes you saying that there is a movie tomorrow. If you actually apply for the movie's tickets today, you can use this coupon code and you can actually get a discount on the movie. So the brand is just one more participant to the number of people talking to you. It is not the only one. You don't break your attention to actually make space for the brand to tell you something very specifically like a TVC. Because for TVC you need to stop and then stare at it and then listen to it. You don't necessarily need to do it anymore. It is a stream that is happening. Everybody is speaking to everybody else. So key takeaways from this, obviously what I just explained to you, the first one is obvious. There is an explosion of content. It's not just from brands alone. Earlier it used to be from brands alone. Now it is not from brands alone. It is from a lot of people from all directions. There are people who you trust. There are people who are your peers. There are people who you work with, your relatives, and then there are brands. There is something that brands that try to say the same thing like everybody else to you. Customers are going through attention deficit. It is still not an attention deficit disorder as such. It's unfortunate that there is so much happening online at the same time. You're not able to focus on a few things, which is completely understandable, but there is an attention deficit as a result, which we as brand managers or brand owners need to be cognizant of. It's quite critical. Customers travel online with tunnel vision. Let me explain tunnel vision in a very brief example to you. So, if you were to decide to watch Salman Khan's Kick this weekend, how would you go about it? The classic way is to open Times of India and see the review. You will obviously see that the reviewer has brushed over Salman Khan and the movie and given it 4.5 stars and says it's highly recommended, thoroughly entertaining movie, provided you keep your brains out of the window and all that stuff. So whether you trust Times of India's critique or not, then you will probably post a question on Facebook or Twitter or just ask your friends in a group saying, hey, how's this movie? Have you seen it? Should I spend $200 on a weekend morning watching the movie? You literally decide based on what people tell you. I mean, people you really trust. Your friends tell you either on Twitter or on Facebook, or you put the question. And if more people seem to say yes, go for it, they go for it. If less people seem to say go for it, you don't go for it. You go for something else that people suggest for something. That's literally how you make your decision. Now, just imagine this is not a movie. This is probably a car that you're planning to buy or a new mobile phone that you're planning to buy. beyond all the advertising that you see, beyond all the TVCs that you see on television, you still trust a few people online when you do a Google search. When you do a Google search for a mobile phone that you have in your mind, you literally take the brand off if you see about 3 bad reviews in a Google search result list of 10. Out of 10, if you see 3 back-to-back saying service is poor, battery is poor, screen is not good, then you literally remove it from your consideration list. That's tunnel vision, unfortunately. So thing is, you don't know whether they are true. You don't know whether you can trust those people who are complete strangers. But that's literally tunnel vision because you see 3 things together and you won't be able to be interested in it anymore. Another classic example is if you want to know what's happening in Israel and Palestine right now, and you have no backdrop or no information on why it is happening, why whatever is happening right now. All you will do is ask people, obviously, but before you ask people, you will do a Google search because it's in your hand, it's in your phone, it's in your PC. You do a Google search, and you will literally trust the first 10 results that come in. The first results will obviously from Wikipedia, which is being edited almost every single second by tons and tons of people, depending on what they want to communicate as their stories. But that's literally how you will make up your mind, and that's the story you will form in your mind based on the 10 results that you see online in Wikipedia and Google search. That's literally how the tunnel vision plays out. So you really can't say that this is the truth, this is what I want to trust. This is literally what people have put out online. That's what you will have it as a takeaway. The final point is obviously every consumer can be influential. This is something that I said earlier also. So you don't need to be a powerful film star to be influential anymore. You can be a friend of somebody who can influence that person's decision. I mean, you have been doing it for quite some time. Even before the launch of internet and social media, we always done that. We always ask friends, we always ask our peers, our colleagues, and etc. And one or more people in that set will obviously have a much stronger opinion, well articulated opinion, and you trust them a lot more. Just imagine if they're able to put the same opinion online for the public to read. Just imagine how influential they can be. They will not influence large numbers of people. They will influence smaller numbers of people, obviously, but they can still be influential as a big B who is trying to sell you Gujarat tourism. Because if you ask your friend saying, should I go to Ranthambore? Is it good? And if he has gone there, he can show you a couple of photographs. Obviously, you will go because that's a personal opinion that you are getting firsthand, the first-hand opinion. Just imagine if the customer can actually put it on mouth check, tons and tons of people read it and take their decision based on that person's opinion along with others. These are the key takeaways. Let me go on to the next slide. So what can we do? So when I say what can you do, what can we do, I am talking about from the point of view of brands, because the assumption is we will be doing something for brands using social media and digital media. So what are the something that we can do as brands? The first thing is obviously there will be multiple reactions to anything. Which is the truth actually, because there are multiple reactions, there have been multiple reactions to anything and everything all the time. Earlier when media was controlled, there were few reactions that come up and bubble to the top, which was actually the truth that people believe to be. Now anything can actually be contested, anything can be cross-referenced, anything can be refuted actively online. So you won't necessarily need to see only one point of the story. You will see multiple sides to every single story. So that is something that we need to be aware of. For instance, brands generally think when they launch a new car, the whole world will love the car because their ad is very very good. The entire world will love the car because the whole world will love the car because the TVC says so basically. So that's literally the first reaction, that the reactions will be multiple and you can actually anticipate reactions if you listen carefully. That's the second part. Now, how can you anticipate reactions at all? So the classic example that we can look at, if you're in the market to launch a new piece of mobile phone, you know what the advantages of the phones are, you know what the disadvantages are in comparison with the rivals that you have in mind, and you can anticipate certain sections of the internet populace to actually say something in return for things that are negative. So that's basically the point that you're looking. For instance, the classic movie example, obviously, you know who your TG is for a movie, and you can always look at a search online, whether it's Google search, whether it's Twitter search or Facebook search. You can obviously anticipate the kind of reactions that you can get. The car example I told you, you should probably be clued in. If you're a car brand, you should be clued in Team BHP. That is probably the most authoritative The TG is basically the target group, the target group that you are trying to reach out to. For instance, the Kick, the movie Salman Khan's target group is people who don't think much about their brains, and you can leave the brains outside. That's the kind of TG that you're looking at. So you can anticipate reactions understandably. So for instance, if you are in the market to launch a car or if you just launched a car, Team BHP is the place to go because teambhp.com is the most authoritative crowdsourced group online which posts opinions completely devoid of any brand influence. No brand can influence the group. It is people like you and me who have posted information. We gain enormously about car related information, reviews and etc. Which is very different from what you get in car related magazines, car related TV shows, where there is a strong bias depending on how much you spend on advertising. On Team BHP, it really doesn't work at all. It is just honest, unbiased opinions that you get at car. So you can anticipate reactions if you listen carefully and you know where to listen to, depending on your product, depending on the package. The third thing, you can find and work with your allies in the PG. Now, when I say you can find and work with your allies, earlier people used to sign up, and for instance, the latest example is there is a two-wheeler brand which has signed up Alia Bhatt to actually say the same thing what Priyanka Chopra was saying earlier. Why should boys have all the fun? Now, how can you trust Alia Bhatt to be the right brand ambassador for the two-wheeler? Is she known to be a two-wheeler expert of some sort? Obviously not. She's just an actress. People pay her, and she says she mouths whatever the brand managers ask her to mouth. As simple as that. But we actually trust her to make a right decision, and we probably end up in a showroom to ask more about the product. But there is no reason why we should trust her at all because we don't know her to be an expert in any form at all. But there can be enough people in your network, in the brand network, online network, where you will find people who have been tracking two-wheelers for a pretty long time. And even though you can't call them as experts, they are at least people who are enthusiastic about two-wheelers as is. And so you will probably trust their opinion a bit more than Alia Bhatt. Alia Bhatt is able to give you the reach, but what you can get from your allies in your target group is something that is more interesting than reach. That is credibility. They have a bank of work behind them that actually puts them more credible than an Alia Bhatt who is just paid to mouth a few lines basically. So you can obviously find and work with allies because these are normal people like you and me who actually volunteer with information publicly online either on Facebook or on blogs, on Mouthshut and etc. So that's something that we can definitely. I'll explain that further. The fourth one, obviously, you need to have a plan of action to respond. So banks actually put out information either on TVC, either on print media, on online worlds, and etc. We obviously do that, but they generally see it as a broadcast media. They don't see it as a conversational two-way communication media. It's a broadcast media. Their reaction, what they want, is basically called a call to action in classic advertising. What they want is people thronging to the showrooms or to the theaters wherever they have actually put their material and then paying money to consume the content that they put. In theaters, it will be movies. In showrooms, it will be asking more about a product like a two-wheeler or a car or a mobile phone. That's exactly what they want. Unfortunately, there are multiple steps before they land up to a showroom or to make a purchase or to a theater, which is actually changing the course of the kind of decision that they are taking. So the best example I can give you is how did you decide to buy what kind of two-wheeler or car say about 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago? You obviously asked your friends, you asked your colleagues, you asked your brother-in-law, you asked your brother, father, mother, etc. Everybody because these are the people you trust. And then you made a decision saying these are the 5 cars I want to consider. I want to do a test drive, and then I will decide whatever is best for me based on other factors like price, EMI, mileage, etc. etc. These days, you obviously ask your friends, parents, colleagues, brother-in-law, etc. But you also do long before you do all that. You also do something which is ready and ready for you instantly at the time. You take your phone and then you do a Google search. So you're looking for a car like whatever car you're looking at, Chevrolet Beat you're looking. Before asking everybody else, you do a Google search, Chevrolet Beat reviews in India. And then you find tons and tons and tons of reviews. Most of them also are from Team PHP. So that's literally what you go with as a first point of contact. You make up your mind at the time, then you ask people saying, hey, I actually did the search for Chevrolet Beat. I found a lot of reviews, but quite a few reviews complain saying that the service network in India is not good for Chevrolet. Is it true? So now you have already made up your mind saying Chevrolet Beat seems to be good based on online reviews, and you also made up your mind saying that the service network is not good enough again based on online reviews, and you want to ensure that that is the real truth also on the ground. And you ask people very specifically instead of saying that which car should I consider based on your experience, you literally say that this is what I saw about Chevrolet Beat. This is also what I saw negatively about Chevrolet Beat. Is it true? So obviously there is a lot of things that the Chevrolet as a brand needs to respond long before it can expect people to land up in their showroom and ask for their car, because there is a lot of steps in between which the brands are completely missing. Moving on to the next slide. The crux of what I'm trying to say is that this is the opinion economy that we are looking at. In advertising, we work with the premise of working within the attention economy. Now we are looking at the opinion economy, because everybody seems to have an opinion that is publicly available and publicly Googleable. It's that easy to find those opinions. You could argue saying that my opinion is probably not shared, but you obviously have been sharing with your friends, colleagues, and peers. There are more and more of us who are also sharing this opinion economy, sharing opinions even online, and they are completely indexed by Google. It can be searched anytime. So to give you a quick explanation about how it differs from the attention economy that the ad agencies love. Attention economy was based on the fact that human attention is scarce. It is a scarce commodity. You are traveling on road, you see a big billboard, it actually gets your attention immediately, and it actually trying to tell you something positive about a product. That is what is attention economy. In opinion economy, obviously the attention continues to be scarce, but it also builds on one more factor, saying that it is not just brands alone which is screaming for attention. It is everybody else is also screaming for attention. Your friend might also be screaming for attention on WhatsApp at the same time, literally saying that hey, let's go for coffee tomorrow evening 4 o'clock. At the same time, when a brand is also telling you saying let's actually see this movie next this week because it's releasing this week. So obviously human attention continues to be scarce, but unfortunately brands are not the only ones screaming for attention. There is a lot more happening. That's part of the opinion economy. The primary task of attention economy was getting people to consume a piece of content, whether it's a TVC, it's a billboard, or it's a print ad, anything at all. It was basically to let people see something that the brands are put together, and that was the primary task of attention economy. In opinion economy, it is not enough that they see it; they need to react to it in some way, which is the reason why you see headlines like 10 reasons to do this within the next 50 days kind of stuff. I mean, those are the classic articles on BuzzFeed basically. So the point is to get people to react. It is not just people consume and move on. They need to say something in return. They need to do something in return. They need to perform an action in return. For instance, on Facebook, every brand wants to be creating content that people will like or share or comment upon, etc. So that's the kind of reaction that people are looking for. It's not just enough to create arresting content. It has to be something that people need to react to also at the same time. That's equally important. The third one in the attention economy is that it complicates the loop of attention, interest, desire, and action. Earlier, it used to be just a very linear kind of loop. There is attention, there is interest, there is desire, there is action. That's what we are looking at. Now, it actually becomes much more complicated. So, it is attention. It's not just your attention, because you're also worried about what are others looking at, what are others saying, what is their attention going towards. And in terms of interest, it is not just your interest. It is also about what do others think, what is others' interest, what is my friend's interest. That's what you're looking at, not just yours alone. In desire, it's not just what you are buying, what you are desiring to buy. Have my friends bought the same thing? Have my friends seen the same movie this weekend? Should I also see the same movie this weekend? Action. What are my other friends doing? Are they buying the same product? Should I also buy the same product because I think like them? They are like me. They are people like me. If they like it, I also should like it. So it becomes more complicated now in opinion economy. The fourth one, brands talking to customers. This usually didn't happen at all 10-15 years ago, because usually brands have a physical mail address or an email address for people to write back to. but this happened in one-to-one communication. So if you call, say, Flipkart for some kind of issue that is there in your service, it either happens in a call or it happens in an email, which is not seen by the public. Now what you do, you actually tweet to them. There is a handle on Twitter for Flipkart support. You tweet to them, they tweet you back in about 5-10 minutes saying your problem is resolved or this is how you can address it, etc. But the main difference between the phone and email and the tweet happens to be the fact that the last one happens in complete public knowledge. Everybody can see what you tweeted to them. Everybody can see what the brand responds to them in real time in the tweet. That makes a huge difference because the brands are more cognizant saying that every single customer query that I address is actually a marketing channel. It is not just a customer service channel. It is a marketing channel. The faster I come back to those people, the better I actually resolve their queries and problems. More people will actually see this conversation because it's happening in public and they will trust my brands more. So brands actually talk to customers instead of just broadcasting to people alone. That was the earlier one. So this is a classic example of attention economy that we spoke about. This is a classic half-page ad for Toyota, one of their vehicles, one of the SUVs. It has a celebrity as a brand ambassador, that is Virat Kohli as a brand ambassador. Next slide is what attention economy does not look like, which is opinion. This is opinion economy for you. You do a search for Toyota Fortuner. The first two results on your left are official web pages, toyotabharat.com and the next toyotabharat.com Fortuner page. Apart from that, everything else, opinions of people. There are tons and tons and tons of opinions. Lot more opinions than what Fortuner can officially do or Toyota can officially do on the top two. Everything else is an opinion. We literally make or break our purchase decisions based on these kind of opinions, and they're just all over the place. It's not just for cars; it's for every single product that we have in the site. Now, when I say every single product, there is a caveat there. Let me go to the caveat. So, by and large, products or services with low engagement, low involvement will tend to have less opinions online. Products which have high engagement, high involvement, or service categories with high engagement, high involvement will tend to have more opinions online. And this is not based on price alone, obviously. So when I say low engagement, it's not just price alone. For instance, movies are not very expensive. Movies are not as expensive as cars, but movies generate a lot of passionate opinions online. Music is a very similar example. Music happens to be barely about 200 to 200 rupees on a CD, or if you buy it in iTunes, it's even cheaper. But it is cheap, but tons and tons of opinions comes into the fray because it's a piece of art, and every piece of art obviously gets a lot of reactions basically. A high engagement involvement product, obviously, which is more obvious if you are buying a house, you will obviously want to check back on the builder's credentials with a lot of people. You're buying a car, you will obviously do that because the kind of time that you spend in doing the research of what to buy, how to buy, which brand to buy is obviously large. As a result, there will be a lot more opinions during that period in the time that you are looking for a new product. Now, in terms of low engagement products, the purchase decision is usually very short. These are basically, I mean, anything basically. The next example that I give you: chocolates, toothpaste, soap, chewing gum. These are small products that you keep buying every month. You don't think much about them, so the purchase decision process is much usually short. But I can also turn this example on its head. For instance, toothpaste. If it's a classic monthly toothpaste that you buy for your family, you will obviously buy it without a second thought, or you will see that you will remember that interesting ad that you saw for Close-Up, and you see, Close-Up red, that looks nice. Let me buy that. I saw that ad. Done. But if you're having a specific problem with your tooth, there is tooth sensitivity, then you go to a doctor. The doctor prescribes a specific brand of toothpaste or a kind of toothpaste that you need to buy, which has got a specific ingredient in it. Then you will spend more time. Another example: baby soaps. Mothers tend to actually ask a lot of other mothers as to which baby soap is best for my child. You obviously tend to spend a lot more time trying to find the best baby soap for your child and baby, which is more important. So a classic normal monthly soap obviously is something that you don't spend much time in deciding, but a more specialized baby soap obviously will spend a lot more because the kind of things that you want in the soap is very different from a classic normal soap. In terms of high involvement categories, there is cars, there are mobile phones, real estate properties, tablets, computers. Obviously, you spend a lot of time because you're spending money in it. You want to be sure that you're buying the best product, you're investing in the right product. In case you are in a low involvement product or a low involvement service, low engagement service, we need to look at least 2 or 3 steps above that category to create more touch points. For instance, I can give you a classic example. Would a brand like Rupa underwear or Banyan be something that will fit under high involvement, high engagement category? I would wager no. It's just a piece of underwear and Banyan, and it's also a tier 2 kind of brand, Rupa. So how can Rupa make itself relevant to audiences like you and me? Is there a way that we can do at all? Because we seem to be the jockey generation, so we don't care about Rupa. We think it's a tacky cheap brand, but they can actually do something. There is a lot that they can do with Bollywood movies. Most heroes like Sunny Deol and Salman Khan actually bandy themselves in Rupa underwear or Banyan, and there is a lot of fun that can be had even for people like you and me basically, a lot of fun that can be had where we could actually engage with a brand like Rupa despite being not the target audiences for it at all. So we obviously may not buy it, but we'll at least remember the brand enough to next time when we see an ad, when we see an engagement from them, like to engage with them. We will obviously do it because they are doing something which is fun for us to do, and we will still end up buying a jockey because we may not do the right TV for it unfortunately. So we can extend the current touch point and engage via social media if we go 2 or 3 steps above the product alone and go into the category. So for instance, if you are in a toothpaste brand, instead of talking about tooth alone, you talk about oral health care. Then you bring in other products from your same brand like a mouthwash or a floss, dental floss, and etc., and become a oral health care brand as against the paste brand alone, which is why you are going away. So obviously, time to update the funnel. There is a funnel that used to be existing earlier. This was basically awareness, familiarity, consideration, purchase, and loyalty. That was a classic funnel. Now it's become really complex. So there is one which is initial consideration set, which you do it on your own via Google Friends, etc. There is two, consumers add or subtract brands as they evaluate what they want. It is an active evaluation. It is not one-time evaluation. It's quite active. It keeps changing. Third one, ultimately the consumer selects the brand at the moment of purchase. This moment of purchase can come from friends, it can come from peers, it can come from Google, it can come from anything at all. Fourth is obviously after you purchase the product or service, the consumer builds expectations based on experience to inform the next decision journey. He can literally make or break his friends buying the same product depending on how the post-purchase experience is. He can even not buy the same product again if it does not work out as he expected. Then it actually goes back to initial consideration. If he wants to buy the same phone again, he needs to be delighted with the phone's experience in terms of service, in terms of speed, in terms of battery life, and etc. Only then he will probably buy upgrade. Else he will go for another thing. So things obviously change a lot. So there is ongoing exposure. Brands need to be on an ongoing basis, be in front of customers, talk to them. There is trigger. Brands need to offer some kind of trigger to actually get people to do that. Active consideration is the time when they actually drop brands like a hot potato because they are not looking at it at all. And the closure is something that is quite critical. Obviously, the closure is something that will happen if there is an ease of way to actually get the product, whichever service that you're looking at. The last one is active or passive loyalty. People will obviously talk about the brand if it actually falls under either this or that side of an extreme. Either the brand is really pissed off people or it is really delighted people. If people are just if people think that the brand has just met expectations, it may not be enough for people to talk about it online. It has to really be delightful. If it's delightful, then they will say, "What a fantastic movie! All of you, please go and see it. I love the movie." If the movie is really bad, again you will go from I completely wasted all my time in that, time and money and effort in that. Let's not see the movie. Just explaining the new funnel in terms of ongoing exposure. You can do it in mainstream media. You can also do it in social media, which is a little cheaper, but it demands a lot of consistently good stories because there is so much of content. Next one, trigger. Is there a way that you can actually look at peers and friends also triggering it and not just brands alone? Because brands are just one part of the overall stream of content that is coming in all directions. Third one is active consideration. Can brands sweeten the deal? A classic example I can give you is the brands like Cafe Coffee Day, which offer a coupon code saying that if you use this coupon code within the next 24 hours, you will get a free cafe latte in any of our stores in Bangalore. So you're trying to make people consider your brand more actively by trying to sweeten the deal, literally to swing it to your extreme. Closure. Are there multiple ways to acquire your product? For instance, we would say that I'm too far away from a showroom. I'm not going to buy it because it's too far away, but you can always say that it's available on e-commerce also. You can go to Flipkart and order the same product. If there are multiple ways to acquire a product, it becomes far easier. Active or passive loyalty. So passive on loyalty is something which is more important for brands than silent loyalty. The former needs incentives. For instance, if you really delight a customer, he or she will obviously pass that loyalty on to others. I love the product, go for it, guys, kind of stuff. If you just met expectations, it will be silent loyalty. People might like your product, but they're not interested enough to talk about it in a delighted term. So let me do something. Because I believe not many people were able to see the video. Probably they saw a blank screen, and not many people were able to see it in their mobiles and tablets. It was probably playing in PCs and laptops alone. Let me do one thing. Let me possibly send across the list of videos that I had in my mind in the presentation that I can actually share with everybody who's on the call through the team here at Avagmah, instead of going through one by one, because it looks like a bit cumbersome for many people. But there are a couple of points that I had to make on each of those case studies, which is also mentioned in the slide. So how the fact is that it was not purely social, it was TVC plus social, and it's not just on YouTube, it's TVC plus YouTube, and how it happened in real time, etc. So let me possibly send across those case studies possibly in a day or two via Teams. Let me possibly move on to questions, because it obviously seems that videos are a problem for a lot of people. Let me take on questions now. Let me take questions now, so it will be far easier for others to actually go on to that. So there's somebody. Okay, so there's Biju who's asking, what is the future of traditional marketing in next 5 years? I don't think it will be called traditional marketing anymore. There will only be just marketing. The most important of which would be digital marketing, obviously, because there are more budgets being allocated from TV and print to digital marketing, because you can target people better online, because you have their profile, you have their interest, and etc. But you don't know the person who's reading the Times of Day. You don't know his profile and what he is interested in at an individual level. Online, it is there. So in terms of traditional marketing, next 5 years, predominantly it will be digital marketing. Less of it would be called traditional marketing. Can we agree that all reviews are true? Narendra asks. Obviously not. Not all reviews are true at all. But that's actually the case even with mainstream media. For instance, how can you trust that the review in Times of India for a movie is real and it's true? Obviously not. So why not brands create false reviews? So I've actually seen this personally in one of the car brands that I handled in the past, where the brand manager was paranoid, saying, how can you be sure that all those negative reviews about a product is not created by your rival brand? Now, the rival brand's primary task is not to create false reviews. It is possibly to get the right target group to actually see those reviews first. So obviously there is a chance that they can do negative reviews, but that's going to be taking a lot of time trying to create and manage those things at all completely. Sonali says, I've developed one portal and created a page on Facebook, but these are all paid promotions. Are there any free promotion websites that is available online? Yes, there is. In fact, Facebook is also free for you. So what is not free is the number of people who will read you. Number of people who will read you on Facebook or Twitter or any website is a function of, one, how interesting the content is. Number two, how you can actually ensure that there is a reach for it. That is what exactly we are doing for Facebook, because we are actually paying Facebook to ensure that there is a reach. If there is no reach, the kind of content that you have is of no use at all, because it reaches very, very limited people. So one, obviously the content needs to be interesting to the TG that you have in mind. Two, you need to ensure that it reaches really, really well. Meenal asks, how to make a career in digital marketing? What is the first step? I would probably suggest that you join a conventional marketing firm or an ad agency first. That is probably a first step. So you can look at to join a digital marketing firm or a normal ad agency firm, literally what you're looking at, and move on from there. Basically get the basics right and then move on from there is what I would call. Kaustubh is asking, how do brands respond to viral negative reviews? With a lot of humility is what I would say. Best example I can give you was there was a musician who traveled in a flight in US, and the baggage cargo guys of the of the flight actually broke his guitar. So when they broke his guitar, obviously he was really angry, because it was his guitar and his personal favorite guitar. So he actually bought a new guitar and created a song about that entire experience. That song went massively viral. Everybody actually listened to the song in a very light mood, but they also took away the fact that this airline broke this guy's guitar, and they also refused to reimburse this guy for buying a new guitar. When the song became massively viral, they realized saying that they behaved badly with this guy. Not only that, they also responded to him very poorly, and he has made his point saying that this is not the way that brands should respond to people when they have a problem. So humility is something that brands need to have. Earlier, brands thought that they are not humans. Now, brands also human, and they need to be extremely humble in responding to negative values online, so that they can actually go on from that point to other points. With so many online avenues, how to choose the best for your brand? I can give you an example, personal example. We had one alcohol brand which actually came to us and said that our target group is actually lorry drivers in Bihar and Rajasthan. So we want to create a Facebook page for them. So the first thing that we did is laugh at their face, saying, "Why do you want a Facebook page for lorry drivers in Bihar and Rajasthan? Do we know that lorry drivers in Bihar and Rajasthan are active on Facebook at all?" They said, "No, but our rival brands are all on Facebook and Twitter, so we also want a Facebook page." So the point is to let the agencies decide on what is best for the brand. Then we actually did a survey, we did a study, we did a research, and we found out that this lorry drivers, besides reading Hindi newspapers or seeing billboards and etc., they are extremely active on WhatsApp as a platform, particularly in Bihar and Rajasthan. Then we actually chose WhatsApp to go with our campaign instead of Facebook or Twitter, which the client was sure that that is what they're looking at. So that is how we choose our brand. I mean, the online avenues that we need to look at a brand. It's based on the target group that is very critical. It's not just what everybody else seems to be. I will also do the same. Yes, can I see your presentation? That's from Darshil. Yes, I will get this email to everybody via the team here, about my team here. Entrepreneurship in digital marketing, yes, it's highly possible in cities like Bangalore, Chennai, Bombay, and Delhi. Digital marketing firms are almost like a cottage industry. People leave college and they actually start a small social media firm. There is no reason why anybody shouldn't, as long as you get the basic right. What else? What about other channels apart from Facebook and YouTube? There are tons. There is Twitter, there is Pinterest, there is Instagram, there is good old blog, there is website, there is microsite. It's tons that you're looking at. But as I said earlier, if your target group for your product or service is there on the channel, it is good for your product. Else, it's completely pointless because they're not seeing it at all. Do more and more posts make the product more popular, or do I need to do something else? Do I need to do something else? So it's not more, it's not the quality, it's not the quantity, it's the quality of post that matters. So you can post once every week also, but if each week that the quality of the post is really outstanding, people will share it and give it longer likes. Otherwise, it will be completely fine. So more is not necessarily good at all. Like classic advertising, in the newspaper, if you bombard newspaper and TV with advertising, obviously people will see a lot more. That is not something that's going to work anymore at all on social media, because people will switch off. That's it. What is the strategy to get a YouTube video viral? There is no strategy. It is like saying, how do I make a 200 crore movie? So there is no rule to making a 200 crore movie. Of course, you can argue saying it needs to have Salman Khan, it will become 200 crore movie, but that didn't happen with Jai Ho. So there you go. So there is no strategy to go take a YouTube video viral. Even one of the best virals out of India, it was actually the song which was Kolaveri by Dhanush. It didn't go naturally viral. It was first seeded to the right places and right people. It was also paid promote from YouTube. All those helped get the initial number of people seeing that video. Once they saw it, because it was addictively catchy, immediately catchy, and etc., then it actually becomes then it gets the possibility to become viral. So things don't go viral on its own. Very rarely do they go viral on its own, particularly with bad emotions, bad reviews, etc., which everybody loves to share. Things from brands generally don't go viral on its own. It needs to have that initial feeling. Yes, I will share the presentations. That's from Ananta Prasad. Yes, I will share it. How to promote our products in e-com business? Uh, Very broad question. You probably need to call the right person within the e-com business. So you need to pick the right person in Flipkart and say, I want to promote my product. They will probably help you with the question. It's not necessarily free. Is there any study projections about the coverage of digital social media in rural India in the coming years? No. Rural India is actually covered in the Google study that Google actually suggests every year online. They have a report that they release every year, Google, Just do a Google search, you will find that 2013 data. I believe the 2014 data will be announced probably in October or September. That's the time when they announce it. Right? There is a specific section on rural penetration of digital and social media in that one. Collaborative was of course catchy content, but the point is this basically. So what if Collaborative was actually played in only one regional channel? Would everybody else come to know at all? They wouldn't. It was given that initial seeding, which was very critical for people to see at least once for the first time. If they don't see it once for the first time, they wouldn't know whether it's catchy or if it exists or not. So it's important that you need to seed that initial niche. For instance, we actually work with social media influencers to help us seed the first content, however catchy, however interesting it is, for the first time. That is to get the reach. You need to get that reach once, and then once everybody sees it, they would be immediately interested to share it across. How does one measure how various mediums of digital media are performing? So I would probably look at it in two ways. That's how we work with multiple brands. One is basically the vanity metrics. Vanity metrics are something that are inherently available in this channel. Facebook has vanity metrics like likes, shares, and comments, and etc. They don't say enough at all. So we actually tweak it in a way saying that like is basically something that people like the content and they have clicked enough to actually bother enough to like that content visibly. So the brand now knows I like the content. That is one level of interest of brand that people show in the brand. Number two is when you actually leave a comment. When you leave a comment, it means that you have liked the content or you have been impacted by the content, but you also have taken enough time to say something back in terms of the content. Third one is a share, which means you have liked the content yourself as an individual, but not just that. More than you liking it, you also think your friend will also like it. That is the highest form of vanity metric that you can get on Facebook, which is basically saying that I would willingly be a brand ambassador for your product because I am sharing it with others. So we can actually position these vanity metrics in a slightly different way for brands for it to make better sense for brands. Instagram. So there is a question being asked about Instagram. The same question can be asked about Pinterest also. The total number of people are very less on platforms like Instagram and Pinterest in India. It is much higher abroad. But there are some specific areas or businesses which will gain enormously from the Instagram. Now the Instagram and Pinterest is classic visual media. So there are product categories or service categories like the beauty industry or the real estate industry, which could gain a lot from having visually rich kind of content. Any more questions? Yes, we will share the deck. Is digital marketing important in case of dealing with import and exports? I would say yes, but what I just spoke about was largely B2C. Import and exports would be B2B because we are dealing with other businesses. So that's the question from Ayushman. We are dealing with businesses. So I would probably suggest getting more active on LinkedIn and connecting with the people that you intend to speak to or you have spoken to than necessarily on Facebook and Twitter, because Facebook is something that people do it casually. LinkedIn is something that people seem to be doing more with professionally. Anjan asks, how can industrial and high engagement products or services be promoted on social media, say a management consulting company? This is also B2B. It is not B2C. LinkedIn is a place to be because that is where you find people with professional interest being active, connect with people. So for instance, my thumb rule is if I meet anybody on a professional basis, within the next 1 or 2 days, I actually connect with them on LinkedIn also. LinkedIn is the new way to actually connect with people where people used to use business cards earlier. We used to exchange business cards. Now we actually use LinkedIn contacts. We exchange that. And you can actually connect on a more online basis. Event management from Trevor, that's another question. LinkedIn is something that I would strongly suggest you use. Apart from it, if you've done events for others, showcase those events in an interesting manner. Can you make a quick snapshot, 1-minute video of the best event that you ever managed? Put it on YouTube. Obviously, not just put it on YouTube and expect people to be seeing it on their own. You need to promote that video in some way, either on YouTube or on Facebook to the right target audience you might be looking at, or to even LinkedIn. For instance, if you have a list of prospects that you want to sell to, for instance, large companies for which you want to manage events, can you connect with them via LinkedIn and then showcase your 1-minute video, which is a quick snapshot. The offline equivalent would be that you go to their office, wait for their time, and then showcase that video. You don't necessarily need to do it. You can do it. Isn't Alibaba better than LinkedIn for B2B marketing? No, Alibaba is actually B2B selling. It is not B2B marketing because Alibaba is basically a B2B marketplace. LinkedIn is not a marketplace. You don't sell and buy products on LinkedIn. You actually connect with humans on LinkedIn from a professional basis. So Alibaba is very, very different. Thank you. Thanks for the time.
Thank you very much for that very fascinating and scintillating presentation, Karthik. And the amount of enjoyment the students had is amply demonstrated by the numerous questions that they had posed. Overall, it has been a wonderful session of learning. On behalf of Avagmah, on behalf of all the students, on behalf of all the faculty gathered here, I wish to thank you, Karthik, for taking out your time and spending more than an hour with us. I'm sorry we exceeded the time limit by about 6-7 minutes, but it was thoroughly enjoyable. Thank you once again.